I have a friend who works overnights at a gas station. From this experience, he's developed a rather cynical sense of humor. If you ever ask him what he did for a living, he would quickly reply,
"I sell poison. Granny Smith's poison apples."
Now you can imagine the type of character my friend must be. But in a sense, he was telling the truth. It wasn't that he poisoned the gas station products, and it wasn't that he desired for people to die from any of the gas station products, but it was that he realized what Americans blissfully ignore, and that is the danger of everyday household products. So what can you do? My name is Sid Bostwick, and this is a history of poison.
That girl is poison. Never trust a big button smile. That girl is poison.
If I were you, I'd take.
The study of medicine is called the study of pharmacology. This comes from the Greek root pharmakon, which translates to both medicine
and poison.
The first uses of poison were to coat arrows used for hunting. So in a sense, poison kept us alive. As far back as 460 BC, Alexandrian physicians were using mandrake as an anesthetic. Mandrake is considered a poisonous plant, and unmonitored consumption often results in vomiting and asphyxiation. The fear of poison caused the ancient king Mithridates VI to develop antidotes for known poisons, and his findings led Pliny the Elder to discovering over 7,000 different types of poisons, and the discovery that certain animals could metabolize these poisons with no ill effect. By the medieval era, apothecaries made incomes by selling poisons to the public, as poisoning had become a popular form of killing. With this advent also came the development of many cures and the discovery of the medicinal properties of many of these
Poisons.
This trend continued until 1874, when the Geneva Convention outlawed poison warfare. Several updates to the convention further defined the banned forms of chemical warfare. This was just a decade after the first regulations were enacted, which prevented the sale of drugs considered poisons without a doctor's prescription. In 1880, the US and China agreed to not export opium to each other's respective countries. By 1911, the United States Opium Commissioner declares that the United States consumes the most habit-forming drugs per capita. These drugs include opium, cannabis, and alcohol. In 1919, alcohol prohibition is approved by 36 of the 48 states. This would be repealed 14 years later. By 1930, the FDA was a thing. Not learning from Prohibition, the United States passed the Narcotics Control Act of 1956, which illegalized many narcotics, including marijuana. I think we know how this story ends. By 1970, the Narcotics Control Act evolved into the Controlled Substances Act, which was signed by no other than Richard Nixon. You may recognize him from some of its other well-known achievements. Between 1982 and 1989, the value of crack cocaine caused homicides in the inner cities to double. In 1996, 60% of the inmates incarcerated in the United States were sentenced on drug charges. In 2014, the United States was still the world's largest consumer of narcotics. In 2017, you can purchase poison freely, as long as it is not intended for human consumption. Almost every household contains bleach and ammonia, which can be combined to create a highly toxic gas capable of burning the skin and causing asphyxiation purely from inhalation. Despite the availability of these poisons, poison-related deaths are the lowest reported form of murder in the United States. Controlled prescription pain meds resulted in 100,399 poison exposures in children under 6 years old in the year 2014. It is the #1 cause of poison exposures in adults. We need to take a serious and honest look at these numbers and facts. If in the 100 years the FDA and drug control has existed, there have been an increase in the amount of drug poisonings and increases in the amount of drug-related crime, then we should ask ourselves, are these organizations really an effective use of taxpayer money? If these same organizations are responsible for limiting the available medicines in our country, then I think we have a serious cause for concern. If the FDA doesn't prevent people from being poisoned, but rather prevents people from being cured, then I think maybe the FDA needs a taste of its own medicine. As citizens of the United States, it is our responsibility to change government organizations since it is our tax dollar, after all, that keeps them in business.